Okay, it's getting kind of dark here, so I'm going to go kind of fast. We're over here by where I park the horse trailer, and I have a friend that bruised her foot snowshoeing today, and so she's kind of hurting and needs a salve. And so I've got, this is a spruce tree, and I should come back here. I'm trying to go real fast because it's going to get dark pretty soon. But this is a spruce tree, and you can tell the spruce here. It's got the needles go all the way around. They're short little needles that go all the way around. It's not like it's flat. It goes all the way around the branch. And we're actually going to take some of these needles as well. But this is the pitch. This tree has been, the deer have rubbed it with their antlers for a very long time actually. And up here you can see we've got, this tree has basically been abused all to heck. These are sapsucker holes. They beat in, they pound in there. And anyway, this releases the sap and then, or the pitch, and then bugs get caught in the pitch, and then the sapsuckers come back and eat the bugs caught in the pitch. But we're going to take a little bit of this pitch here, and then across the road we have that's a white pine, and we're going to do pretty much the same thing with that as well. White pines, you can tell a white pine where the needles all come together in a bract, and there are 5 needles to a bract, and remember the word white has 5 letters in it, and the white pine has 5 needles to a bract. And we're going to get a little bit of needles and a little bit of pitch from both of these trees and put them together into a pain relieving salve for her foot. Anyway, I'm just going to collect some of this. I'm just collecting it in a wide mouth jar. We're going to kind of put this in as a double boiler, but I'm going to collect this here before it gets too dark and I end up stabbing myself in the dark and not even be able to see it. So I will show you how to prepare this stuff, but basically we're just going to cut out some of this and grab a few needles, and then I'll head into the kitchen. I'll show you the rest of it from there. Sorry for hurrying you guys along there. I just wanted to get in before it got too dark. Anyway, we're in the basement kitchen today, so we get to see cooking on the electric stove. And what we're going to do is get this going here. We're going to put this on a medium to low heat because we're going to do this slow. We may heat it up a little bit as we go, but right now we're going to start off slow. And these are our white pine resin and our spruce resin. And most of your pines that you can gather from will have some kind of pain relieving ability. I actually like the white pine better. The white pine for me has more medicine to it, but the spruce has more penetrating value. So I'm mixing the two of them. This is going to be used for a foot, and you know how if you're working with hot peppers, it doesn't burn your hand, but the minute you go to scratch, you know, your arm or something, then suddenly you burn your arm with it. It's because the palm of your hand is so thick, and to get through the thickness of your hand or your feet, sometimes you need something that penetrates, and that's why we're using the spruce. Now, if I didn't have any white pine, the spruce has plenty of medicine all by itself. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of olive oil in, and I'm going to use olive oil. You do not have to. I use olive oil because it's what I trade for, and so I know it's organic. We can always add more, but we're just going to kind of almost cover them. And we're in a pot here. We put our jar in a pot of water, and we're going to heat that up, and we're going to start melting this in. Now, you do not need to use olive oil. If you can't afford olive oil and all you've got is vegetable oil, use vegetable oil. I kind of argue against it from time to time, like don't use vegetable oil, don't use corn oil, don't use canola oil, and the main reason I do is because I'm against GM, or genetically modified plants. I don't like what they're doing to our farm country and to our farmers. But if that's all you have and that's all you can afford, herbs are medicine of the people. Use what you have, because this is your medicine. And we're just going to start melting this down slowly into the oil, melting the oil and the resin together. And at this point, if you wanted, you could add a cayenne pepper into it, a couple cayenne peppers, you know, some dried peppers, and something on that order. You could also add something like meadowsweet or wintergreen. Maybe those two you might want to wait a little bit to add. Or at this point, you could even add something like, if you had some cottonwood buds, something like that, you could toss those in right now. If you have somebody that has aspirin allergies, stay away from the cottonwood bud, stay away from the wintergreen and the meadowsweet. And if you're using your pain reliever around the mucous membranes, don't add the cayenne pepper. We're just going to, though, work with the pine, and then later on I am going to put in some of the pine needles and the spruce needles, but that's going to come later after we've worked with or got this work down. I'm going to melt this down. I'll come back after it started melting and I'll show you from there. So now, as you can see, this is starting to really melt down in. Didn't take that long, probably about 10-15 minutes. And we're going to add a little bit of the needles here. This is the white pine needle. I think I probably told you while we were outside that the white pine needle has, out of a brack, it has 5 needles. And I think you can probably count them there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That white, the word white, has 5 letters. Needles, 5 needles to a brack. Tend to be longer like this. I've chopped them up a little bit. And then there's the spruce. Spruce goes all the way around, kind of like that. Also has kind of a frosted look to it. And those I didn't chop up quite so much because the needles aren't as long. These have an antimicrobial, they have essential oils, and that's what we're going to use this for. This has a little bit of the pain relieving properties to it, not as much as our pitch here does, but it also, it puts the more of the whole plant in. Instead of just a part of the plant, we're using a little bit more of the plant. First, I'm going to put just a little bit more olive oil in there. And that's the thing with the olive oil here, you can always add more. Once it's in there, though, you can't take it out, so you just put it in little bit by little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to add some of my needles. Here's some of the spruce needles, so we're going to get that down in there. And then add some, if I can do it without spilling them, some of the white pine. And we're going to just let this sit on low here for just a little bit to try to extract some of the medicinal properties out of the needles and to finish melting down the last of the pine pitch and spruce pitch that is in there. And then when that's all done, we'll put it through a filter or put it through a sieve and get all the bits out. Nice low heat, and we're just going to let it set for a little bit, and then we'll strain this out as soon as we know that all of the rest of the stuff is melted in, and the needles will kind of lose a little bit of their greenness and look a little bit more brown. I'll bring you back in just a little bit to we'll strain it out. So it's been a little over an hour now. So now I did turn it up so you can kind of hear it's bubbling a little bit, because I want this to remain liquid for the next few minutes, and I'm going to pour it into my through a sieve. If you want, you can even put a piece of muslin or linen or cotton in here. Anyway, I'm going to pour it through here, and then I'm going to put my little pouring spout back into the water and heat it back up a little bit, because I'm going to add a little bit of beeswax. But I'll talk to you about that in just a minute. I'm going to get going with that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have the oil here. This is perfectly fine to be used in this way. In fact, it's actually better for you. Everything's concentrated in there. You have your pitch in there, your 2 pitches, both the white pine and the spruce, plus the needles, so you have a really good, nice, strong oil for pain relief. So you can use it just like this, and if I basically recommend this is the way you use it. But a lot of people find using an oil inconvenient, because basically when you use an oil, you rub it on, and then you sit for up to an hour to let that oil really soak in. You can heat it up a little bit like this, and then rub it in, which will make it penetrate faster, but you leave it on for a little bit. And most people in this modern day and age do not have time for that. They want to use it and go, use it and go. They don't want to have to sit for an hour to let the oil kind of penetrate in before they wipe off a little bit of it. So I am going to put a little beeswax in it, because by making it into a salve, you can put it on and it's not as oily, it's not as greasy. The most I would put in there would be the same amount of beeswax, but I don't think I want that. Again, as I said, I don't know that I want it. The more oil it is, the better it is for a person. Again, the beeswax is more for convenience sake. So I've melted a little beeswax over here. I got a little beeswax. This pot is used only for beeswax, which is why it looks like such a mess. And we're just going to pour just a little in. So now we've got our beeswax in there, and That's why I was keeping everything warm. And I've got a little jar here. And we're going to pour this into our little jar. And this is where, when I strain it into something, I like to strain it into these nice little Pyrex things because A, they're heat resistant, and B, they have a pour spout, which is always great. So we're going to, whoop, darn it, I got one little needle in there. Thought I got all my needles out, but I got one little needle in there. Oh well. And then we'll let this set up. I'm not going to cap it yet. I'm going to let it set up. And that's it. That is a pain relieving balm or a pain relieving salve made out of spruce. Oh. Let me see if I can get that one last stubborn little needle. There it is. There's my stubborn little needle. Made with spruce and white pine pitch, and the needles. Needles were more for the antimicrobial part of it. And the white pine, again, as I said, the white pine to me has more of a medicinal value to it than the spruce, though the spruce has plenty of medicine to it. But the spruce has that penetrating ability. And since this is going to be on the sole of a foot, she bruised her foot, so we want it to be able to penetrate that hard, thick sole of the foot. Spruce and white pine pitch pain relieving salve.